on Samsung White's 2-0 start to the series.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm going to kick this one off by saying I think it is incredible. Samsung White have shown up. I want to talk about Deficio's point about Samsung White's mindset and some of the gloating that they've done in the past, but let's get through this game first. Pick some bans. Let's pull up this team comps double lift. You were excited, surprised, interested by the Galio
I
pick.
actually really liked the Galio pick. In my opinion, it's really good versus Jace and Corki. They're both very pokey champions, and Galio does really well against poke with Bulwark. All they needed to do was not fight before they got their double rods, and that's exactly what they did.
Well,
so you want to go first?
so coming in here with the Galio pick as well to go on that, I do agree that it's potentially a strong pick. You do have some decent poke in the mid game with Lucian, but the real problem here is you're dealing with a poke comp with Corki and Jace, and there's no form of engage on this team. So if you start to fall behind, you just get poked out. Galio will never ult, and that was the problem.
Yeah, honestly, I'm actually of the complete opposite opinion of you guys. I think Galio sucks against poke comps because Bulwark works best when you heal multiple sources of damage. It's not like a shield, it is a heal per hit, and if you're only getting hit once, that heal's pretty crappy. He would have been great last game, facing a Yasuo, facing an Akali, facing these things that want to jump onto your face. Like, those are the kinds of champions that you want to suck in. When no one's in range of your pull, no one even cares. And even still, what I liked, and I talked about this in the last game, how Blue did not react well to Akali, and they didn't have pink wards, they weren't ready for the teleport. Samsung White was ready for Galio. They actually played the fights around Galio incredibly well, and that was what was actually even more impressive to me, was their kind of counterplay.
Yeah, if you're going to have that Galio pick, the idea has to be to get that Rise AoE off and start getting the Kha'Zix resets rolling, but I totally agree with you. Without a form of primary engage, it just doesn't work here.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit more about some of the in-game decisions. The picks and bans, Samsung White definitely showing they seem to have an advantage. They feel like they have significantly more threats all the way down their line. Let's pull up the first replay. It's like 3-4 minutes in. Massive dragon fight. And Monte Cristo, talk me through the decision-making here from actually both squads, because it felt a bit odd.
Well, I mean, standard lane swap, so the team on the bottom side, let's get this rolling, is going to go ahead and take that. We will see Pawn shoot that Shock Blast, has that Trinket Ward coming up, and Lucian, as Crepo's pointing out right now, is still in lane, so that's a little bit problematic. He needs to come up there, and the Dragon just straight up kills Acorn, and the residual damage from the earlier Q from Jace is going to pick him up that kill. Now that's just a good exhaust and a good engage coming in with the Q and then actually just getting the last hit. Spirit miscalculating a little bit right there. Now Def's going to come in, and Peter, you want something?
Yeah, Def totally just healed the wrong person. He actually could have totally saved Spirit right there, but he healed Part instead.
Yeah, and from this point on, just clean up. Now they end up with double bust, and this is coming off a point in the game where Dade had a level 1 tier. And what's so interesting about this matchup in the mid lane is in a tier versus tier matchup, whoever gets that tier first and gets that earlier power spike is going to have a big edge. But Dade was really unable to convert that advantage and all of the kills he got, all those early items, into a meaningful carry this game. And again, a lot of that was because he could never really get anywhere close to Samsung White to deal damage.
And I think this is why Blue will have a really hard time coming back mentally from this game, because finally they got that early snowball, they almost got it running, and they made a couple mistakes on a crucial dragon fight they took way too early, in my opinion, executed it poorly. The dragon juggling was not there, the bad synergy. Spirit missed his smite, cost his team the dragon. That's a 2,000 gold swing almost, like, because 1,000 for each team in each direction. Yep. So that will add up really big, and that's why you saw him after the game. He was just mentally just broken, and I wonder, like, they will need more than just bouncing back from this to even come close to beating White. I wonder what's going to happen in the next game.
Yeah, I think they're going to need to turn around a lot. And you talked about the game getting kind of thrown away in dragon fights. I think, in fact, that's our second replay here. It's a later game dragon fight. And this points out, one, Samsung White's really smart gameplay, and two, the Galio pick was actually fairly salvageable here. It was just a couple of misplays that actually kind of set them off. So first of all, before we start, notice that both Rengar and Corki from Samsung White are flanking around the bottom side of Dragon. They are never grouping up as 5 into a choke point against Galio, because that is how you die to Galio. Instead, they're going to flank. So let's roll the clip out and watch what happens, because Samsung Blue identifies this, and they will actually pull into the choke point together. They all come up together. Yes, okay, they have to leave Spirit alone, but he hits the smite this time around, and he's actually able to kite back into Acorn. He actually survives this entire encounter. Good moves by Dade. He actually pushes away Dandy. And at this point right here, a good Galio ult sucks the team in, and this fight starts out. Dragon and a 2-for-1 in Samsung Blue's favor. Here's the misplay. Dade says, come in, let's fight Imp. Deft comes in, Dade chooses to fight. This makes Dade get caught. Deft gets caught as well. Spirit is still there trying to save someone else, so he gets caught as well. That team could have cut and run on a 2-for-1, maybe sacrificed one more champion, but won the fight anyway, because Galio is a good protector.
But I do think when you're playing a Ghost Flash Rise and you have the Galio speed up and you recognize that you're getting pincered from both sides, the reaction to a common pincer is just attack one of the flanks, right? They're flanking you. If you move away from the right side flank and you go into targets on the left, you have double move speed boost and double like CCs to keep people in place. If Blue recognized that, I think they could have won that fight even harder.
Even still, though, Dade did solo kill the Rengar and get away. So, like, for what it's worth, he still made that individual play work.
But the thing is he used his ult too early right there, and yeah, he killed the Rengar, but he used his ult, and then he didn't have the ult when they grouped in the choke. And for me, if he had that AoE there, maybe that fight would have gone differently. So I think that was a bit of a mistiming on the Rise ult.
The fact that that team is even willing to make such aggressive plays when they have a double snowballing. They're running double Rod of Ages comp, and both their AD carry and mid had just recently gotten double buffs from the last Dragon. So I feel like they just needed to, I don't know, wait for their comp to outscale like they should, and I don't know, it's just really strange for them to force that fight right
Let me ask a question quickly, because we could talk about this game very long, but it's 2-0 in favor of Samsung White. Samsung Blue picks and bans have shown weaknesses. Gameplay decisions, maybe individually, have shown weaknesses. Monty, you know these guys better than most. What does Samsung Blue need to change coming into Game 3 to put up a better fight and possibly pick up a win?
I mean, it's hard to say because I feel like their pick and ban phase hasn't been very well thought through over the course of this series. They had a lot of options, but opted to kind of go with that last pick, Galio, even though they had that little bit of a flex pick and Rise. Of course, we've talked about how Acorn isn't the biggest Rise player, but it's still an option. And I mean, I hope they've got something going on here because otherwise that pick and ban phase is really skewed very heavily towards White, and they have to have another card up their sleeve, I think.
I would almost argue that the pick and ban phase is the least relevant, because I feel like White's just individually outplaying Blue in a lot of these like small skirmishes, just in terms of like timings of moves, smaller plays. We saw Danny there, and then just in terms of strategy, I think White is just showing up way more.
That's the thing, is they're picking, like in Game 1, we saw that stealth skirmish comp. They're intentionally choosing champions to abuse the fact that they are better at the skirmish. So I think one kind of plays into the other.
Well, player for player, Looper's outplaying Acorn, Dandy's outplaying Spirit, Pon's crushing Dade almost every game, and Mod is definitely outplaying Heart. So really the only thing they can do is kind of try to pick on Imp, which didn't even work in the first game.
Well, we do need to move this one along. Difficult position for Samsung Blue to be in. We'll see what they do in game number 3. At the start of the show, we asked you guys which player matchup will be the deciding factor in this series and why. And here's what you guys at home have been saying. From @Pakinen, he says, Imp versus Def, they have very contrasting personalities, and that clash is evident in their rivalry. It's definitely Imp that's had the upper hand so far. Next one, @Shiv Raj, he sent in, nothing can touch the story of the mid laners. Pawn and Dade, when comparing the role matchups, they're the most even. Not today, they're not. Next up from @KwamaLol tweets, gotta agree with Freak on this one. Dandy versus Spirit will decide the series. The early pressure is the key to winning, and Dandy on Rengar has been a monster. Guys, thank you for the responses. We can never have too many. Keep sharing them with us at LOL Esports with that hashtag Worlds. We're going to be coming back to Game 3 in a second, but before that, Samsung White are just one wrecked Nexus away from advancing to the finals, and when we come back, we'll see if they can close it out in Game 3. Guys, we'll be right back.
Going down first, then Dandy falls. It's going to be Acorn, but they have damage right now. No, it is going to be Dade going down. Dandy's trying to get the fight on. Has Fizz into the brush, now into the base. Dade goes down. Mata's going to pick up doubles there. Tries to throw a torrent.